Greetings! Today this video will be a guide on how to use a Fahrenheit to Celsius and vice versa calculator in Java. The reason for this tutorial is to give beginners in Java coding the knowledge and an example of how coding can be used on a day-to-day basis. To be more specific, in this guide, the user will be taught how to install Java, how to make a Java project, how to create a Java class, and how to run code so that they may have an idea of how to use any Java program and an example how the code should be for any future reference. Before we begin, I would like to lay down some guidelines. To begin with, make sure that any links you go to are provided by us. Do not use any type of links outside of our instruction set, as it may lead to some sort of virus, hacking, or any other computer security issue. Make sure the IDE is downloaded from the correct company's site and not a fake offsite that may download malware. We are not responsible for any errors, problems, or corruptions that happen if you choose not to listen to our given instructions. After using the program, close the IDE application to prevent battery loss or accidental program editing. To complete the task we're about to begin, you will need a couple of items. You will need a modern computer or a laptop, an internet connection, 5 GB of free space, a keyboard, a mouse or a trackpad, and basic computer skills. If you are familiar with certain terminology we may use in this video, we will introduce you to a couple you may come by. Java IDE. A Java IDE is an open source software platform where users can write and run Java code inside. A GUI. A GUI is a graphical user interface which can be created from the building up code in Java. A graphical user interface can have clickable buttons, movable windows, and many other components a user is able to interact with. Java project. A Java project is a computer programming selection that creates a folder containing the source code for the building of a Java program. Java class. A Java class is a computer programming blueprint to house code that is executed. This can contain methods, variables, all related to a program execution. Now let's get started. Step 1. Step 1 involves watching the video on how to download the Eclipse IDE. If you have never downloaded the Eclipse IDE, now would be the right time to do so. There will be a link provided on the screen and in the description below so that you can click to YouTube link, which will redirect you to a video on how to download the Eclipse IDE. Once the person tells you where to download the link, you must use the link that we are providing, which is also in the description and on the screen. We would not like you to run into any foreseen events. Once you have finished watching the whole video and had a solid understanding of how the Eclipse IDE works, now will be time to move on to the next step. Step 2. Going to GitHub. This is where our lesson really begins. Go to our link provided on the screen in the description below, which will take you to the GitHub link which houses our code. You will see a lot of code on this GitHub website, but do not be intimidated. Step 3. We will copy all the code presented in the GitHub link. All the code you see before you will now be copied. Click, hold, and drag from the start of the code all the way to the ending code. Make sure you press the copy button once you have a hold of all the code on the GitHub website. We will move on to step 4. We will open up the Eclipse IDE. If you have recently closed the Eclipse IDE for some reason, please open it up right now. Your Eclipse may say at the end, in quotes, 22-12. This is just a recent update of Eclipse. It won't affect anything as of now. We will move on to step 5. The creation of a Java project. Once your Eclipse is opened up, look at the top left corner. You will see the File option. Hover over to File, then hover over to New. You will see the option Java Project. Please click on Java Project for the creation of a Java project. We will move on to step 6, naming the Java project. Once you have clicked Java Project, you will be brought to an open window titled New Java Project. In the window you will see the project name with an empty text bar next to it. In this window, please type test code into the empty text bar to name the Java project. To make sure you don't run into any error, please find the option titled Module. Uncheck the box of module info.java file. The reason for this is to prevent some errors from occurring when running the code. Once you have unchecked the module info and named the Java project, please click Finish. We will move on to step 7. In this step, we will hover over to Java project. You will see the test code folder on the left side of your screen. You will click it, click File, and hover over and create a new class this time. We will move on to step 8, naming a new Java class. Once you have clicked class, you will be welcomed to a new window titled New Java Class. You must look for the word name with an empty text bar to the right of it. You will insert the word GUI into it in all lowercase, that is GUI in all lowercase. Once you have named the class, you will select Finish at the bottom of the screen. Moving on to step 9, we will paste the GitHub code into the Java class. When you have created the class, you will see a window titled Public Class GUI. In this window, you will delete the contents except the first package named test code. Once you have deleted public class GUI with the bracket, you will paste the code into this window. You can do this by right-clicking, then clicking Paste. After pasting all of the GitHub code into the class, we will move on to step 10, running the Java program. Now we have all the code needed to run the program. You will run the program by clicking the green circle surrounding a play button at the top of your application. This is located to the right of a bug-like symbol. We move on to step 11. Now you have ran the program and a GUI window should have popped up. The GUI window may be too small for you. My suggestion would be to please go ahead and expand the window to your preference until you can see and interact with all the buttons on the screen. You can do this by clicking, holding, then dragging any corner of the window so that it suits what you like. We move on to step 12, selecting the converter and using the program. Now since we have ran the program, you have the option of 2 rectangular boxes under Select Converter. You have 2 choices, one that converts from Fahrenheit to Celsius and another choice that selects from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You may decide on your preference which you would like to use. If for any reason you have selected the wrong converter, you can simply go back by clicking the Go Back Home button. This is located at the bottom of the GUI window. Now you can select the converter that is of your best interest. We move on to step 13, entering a number into the program. Now that you have chosen a specific converter, whether it's Fahrenheit to Celsius or Celsius to Fahrenheit, you will see an empty text box. It is under the phrase, "Please enter value in Fahrenheit." This box will prompt you to enter a numerical value that you wish to translate. Input any number of your choosing. After entering a number, we move on to step 14, converting the number into our desired temperature value. We're almost done. Now since you have inputted a number into the text box, now you can click the Convert Box option and output will appear under it. After clicking the Convert button, we move on to step 15, receiving your output. Depending on which converter you have chosen, it may say Fahrenheit to Celsius is followed by the value, or Celsius to Fahrenheit is followed by the value. Whatever option you have chosen, you will see the output to the right of it. A small message comes beforehand, the temperature translation, to let you know what conversion you had chosen, such as in quotes, Celsius to Fahrenheit is followed by the numerical value. Congratulations, you have successfully completed the whole task. Before the tutorial is finished, we realized you may have run into some problems or just want to maintain any code that comes in your way in the future. To begin with, here are some ways you can fix the code. We will go over our troubleshooting guide now. If your code doesn't run, go back to the following GitHub link displayed on the screen and in the description below. In this screen, click the button Raw. You will copy the code presented here by using Ctrl-A on a Windows machine or Command-A for a Mac. This will copy all the code displayed on the screen. You want to make sure you copy the code a couple of times to make sure your device captures all of the content. Now you will go back to the Eclipse IDE and the same class you had created. you will finally press Ctrl V for a Windows machine or Command V for a Mac machine to paste the code into this class window. Our second troubleshooting guide involves using a compatible Java IDE. Using an IDE online or some other programming software such as Notepad++ will be incompatible with the code as it is written in the Java language and not in C++ or any other type of programming language. Our third step in the troubleshooting guide involves not closing the class name. To be more specific, you want to make sure you don't have a second class already named gui.java. This could be what is causing an error. If you were to have a duplicate file named gui.java, it would not allow you to run your code. To solve this problem, you will either rename the file or you would have to create a new Java project folder. Moving on to our fourth step within the troubleshooting guide. If you have an error on how the output looks, for example, some letters may be too small or the GUI window is too small for you to click or type any number in, we would need you to stretch out the window. As we mentioned in step 10, you should stretch out the window not only for better visibility, but for you to also to be able to interact with the buttons and type in a numerical value into the text box. Our step 5 of the troubleshooting guide involves the failure of the previous steps. If everything fails, please reinstall Eclipse and Java overall. Once you have done this, you should reset your computer and open up Eclipse and run the program again. This is the end of our troubleshooting guide. Now it's time for some maintenance tips. Our first maintenance tip is do not update the IDE. Believe it or not, when updating the IDE, it may try to renew old code, which could possibly corrupt the old code present. Our second step of the maintenance guides involves you copying and pasting the code into a second Java file backup or somewhere safe, so if anything happens to the calculator, you will have a backup file from where to access the content. You can do this by creating a new Java class within a new Java project or pasting the code into a text editor for future use. Our third suggestion in the maintenance guide would be to update the code. To elaborate, make sure you're using the most up-to-date code provided on our GitHub link. Copy and paste this code into Eclipse and make sure you have the most recent version found on the GitHub website. Our fourth step of maintenance involves being on the safer side. Running out your code multiple times will reduce the chance of anything happening. Having multiple copies of the code is a great way to make sure you have no unexpected code loss. Our fifth suggestion in the maintenance guide is if and only if you know what you are doing, you may shorten the code overall so it takes up less CPU running time on your machine. Only if you know what you're doing, we would suggest this tip. Besides that, do not edit the code for any use. Keep the code as presented on the GitHub link. This wraps up the tutorial. Thank you so much for watching our tutorial. I hope this has helped you, especially as a future reference for any code that you may do in the future. Please feel free to review our references, leave us a comment on questions you have regarding our code or any other suggestions you may have, and please give our video a like. Thank you for your presence and thank you for watching. We hope you have a great day and have enjoyed this tutorial.